Greetings, detectives. Mrs. McKay here, and we are on clue 3-4, which says I can convert, so write the word convert, equations between standard and slope-intercept form. I can convert equations between standard and slope-intercept form. Let's go ahead and first remember what those two forms are, the two names of a line that we've learned so far. There are some other names. One's called point slope form. But right now all we're going to focus on are slope-intercept form and standard form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and if I had an equation like that, y equals 2x minus 5. I know that looks like a g, but it's a y. Y equals 2x minus 5. That would be slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form has two constants. One is a coefficient right in front of the x. That's the 2. And one is the b, which is the y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis, where x is 0 and y is -5. And that 2 in front of the x is the slope. Now I'm going to say this because I want everybody to hear this. 2x is not the slope. 2 is the slope. Okay? Up 1 over 1. 2 over 1 is the slope. X is the variable. X is the x coordinate of a point on the line. All right? Also, the 2 is the rate of change. It's the unit rate of change that we learned about in our last case. All right, next one, standard form. Standard form says that I do 2x minus y equals 5. And I believe that's the same equation, and we'll check it later to see if I did it right, because I did it in my head. Ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are all constants, and the a and the b are coefficients in front of the variables x and y. Exact same line, just written differently. All right, well now we want to be able to convert back and forth. Maybe we have standard form and we want to turn it into slope-intercept form, or we have slope-intercept form and we want to turn it into standard form. Let's do some so that you can see how to do that. Now, if we know the form for slope-intercept, then we just have to get our equation to look like that form. So remember, our form for slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. And the number one goal is to get the y by itself. So we want to isolate the y. If we can get the y on the left-hand side and everything else on the other side, then we're going to have slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here I've got 2x plus y equals 8, and I need to get the y by itself. So the first thing I'll do is subtract 2x from both sides. Now I have y equals negative 2x plus 8. And I've just turned 2x plus y equals 8 into slope-intercept form. Pretty simple, yes? Let's try this next one. 3x plus 2y equals 8. I want to isolate the y, so I'm going to start by getting anything that doesn't have a y attached to it over to the other side. So what should I do? Subtract 3x from both sides. I get 2y equals negative 3x plus 8. Am I done? I am not done, and the reason is because the y has not been isolated yet. It still has a coefficient. So what should I do? I should divide by 2. and I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and notice I'm dividing everything on the other side by 2. So I end up with y equals negative 3x divided by 2 is 3/2 x, plus 8 divided by 2 is 4. All I did was I used the distributive property. I divided both terms by 2, okay? In some ways, it's kind of like saying 1/2 times negative 3x plus 8, right? Except I'm dividing instead of multiplying by 1/2, all right? Next one, you do on your own. What'd you come up with? Well, you should have subtracted 5x from both sides. And you would have ended up with negative 3y equals negative 5x plus 12. All right? Divide by negative 3. And you should have ended up with y equals negative 5 divided by negative 3 is positive 5/3 x plus 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. All right, so those, pretty simple. If you're comfortable with solving equations and moving things around, you should be able to do this pretty easily. Just remember, the form is y equals mx plus b, and you have to isolate the y to get it by itself. All right, let's do the next one. Slope-intercept to standard. The key to switching from slope-intercept form to standard form is to remember the rules. Remember that the a in ax plus by equals c can't be a negative number, and there are no fractions allowed. So let's remember our slope-intercept form, or our standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. Now notice that ax plus by equals c has the x's and the y's on the same side and the constant on the other side. All right? And also notice that the x and the y can have coefficients. They can have a constant in front of them, but they can't be a fraction. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Here's the first one, y equals negative 2x minus 4. I think what I'll do is I will add 2x to both sides because I'm going to go ahead and move my x over to the left-hand side. And I get 2x plus y equals negative 4. And voila, I now have it in standard form. Can you tell me what the a is? That's right, it's the 2. And what about the b? Tricky, but it's 1. And the c, negative 4. All right, let's do the next one. Y equals 2/3 x plus 5. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move the 2/3 x over to the left-hand side. The other thing I could do is I could move the y over to the right-hand side and take the 5 and move it over to the left-hand side. Just flip everything. Because remember, one of the things is a can't be a negative number. So I could do that and just make the others be the negatives, and I could save myself a step of having to multiply or divide by a negative. So I think that may be what I do, is I'm going to keep my 2/3 x here, but I'm going to subtract my 5 from both sides. And I end up with y minus 5 equals 2/3 x. And then I think I'll subtract my y from both sides, and I get 5 equals 2/3 x minus y. Now, just because it's written on the right-hand side, it still means the same thing. So I'm going to rewrite it this way. 2/3 x minus y equals 5. Everyone see that? I'm not done yet, though, because I have a fraction. The a is a fraction, and so I need to get rid of that 2/3. I can keep the 2 part. I just need to get rid of the denominator, the 3. So how do I get rid of something like that? How can I make the 2/3 become 2x. Well, I can multiply everything by 3, or 3 over 1. When I multiply by the denominator, then ultimately I'm going to get rid of the denominator and just keep the numerator. So I didn't multiply by 3 halves to make the a be 1, the coefficient be 1, because I'm okay if the coefficient is a 2. I just need the denominator to go away. So I multiplied by 3 over 1, and notice that I'm going to multiply everything by 3 over 1 because I can't just multiply one thing. If I'm going to multiply one thing, I've got to multiply the whole thing by 3. So I've got 3 times 2/3, and you'll notice that those two cancel out and I end up with 2x. And then I'm going to multiply 3 times negative y, which gives me minus 3y. And I'm going to multiply 3 times 5, which gives me, that should be a negative 15. So 2x minus 3y equals negative 15. All right? Let's go ahead and do the last one. Why don't you try it first and tell me what you came up with? All right. Well, this one has several parts that we're going to need to fix. So the first thing I'm going to do is, because I see that I have a negative x over 2, I'm going to go ahead and move my negative x over to the left-hand side because that will automatically get rid of that negative. So I'm going to add negative x halves, or it's really 1/2 x, right, to both sides. So now I have 1/2 x plus y equals 3/5. Now I can't have any fractions, so I'm going to first get rid of the fraction 1/2 that's in front of the x. I'm going to make sure that what I do is I multiply by the denominator 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2. 2 over 1. And this becomes 2 times 1/2 becomes 1x, so I can just write x. And then 2 times y becomes 2y. And then 2 times 3/5 is 6/5. Am I done yet? I'm not done yet because I still have a fraction. I have to get rid of the 6/5, and I have to turn that into a constant that's not a fraction, a real number or a whole number. So the way to do that is to multiply this 6/5 by a 5. And then I'll end up with just 6. But remember, if I multiply one thing by 5, I have to multiply everything by 5. So when I multiply 5 times x, I get 5x. And when I multiply 5 times 2y, I get 10y. And when I multiply 5 times 6/5, I get 6. So here we go. 5x plus 10y equals 6. What's our a? It's 5. What's our b? It's 10, and our c is 6. Now you can check that to see if what I've done is correct by simply taking 5x plus 10y equals 6 and seeing if you can put it into slope-intercept form. So let's do that. 5x plus 10y equals 6. And let's put it into slope-intercept form. I'm going to isolate my y by subtracting 5x. And I get 10y equals negative 5x plus 6. Divide by 10 on both sides, and I get y equals negative 5/10 x plus 6/10. I can reduce these, and they become y equals negative 5/10 becomes a negative 1/2 x, and 6/10 becomes 3/5. And this is the same as that. So I did it. All right? That's all that we have to do the conversions back and forth. You just have to be comfortable with manipulating numbers. So, know the format of each form. Use what you know about balancing equations to move terms around, divide or multiply to isolate a variable, or to get rid of fractions. Last thing, write yourself a key idea right here, and I'll see you in class.